Hello and Happy New Year! I have a bit of a treat for you in this video, which I thought would be a nice way to kick off 2025. I'm going to share with you some of the most beautifully recorded acoustic guitar sounds I have ever heard and explain how they happened. Shortly before the holidays, I flew into Berlin, Germany. I was very excited about this. Good guitar stuff tends to happen to me in Berlin, and on this occasion, I had been asked to produce a new record by the extraordinary Australian talent Alan Gogoll. This is a big deal, a real position of trust, and it was an honour to be asked. Now, I absolutely love Alan's playing. If you're unfamiliar with his work, then please do check out his channel. His harmonic technique alone is something that I find nothing short of magical. I just love being in the same room when it's happening. You know that thing when someone is very technically proficient and decides to play at you? Well, that never happens with Alan. He's a monster player, incredible musician, but a gentle, humble guy, and just a pleasure to spend time with. One of Alan's dreams has been to record at the legendary Hansa Studios in Berlin, the German equivalent of Abbey Road or Sound City. Depeche Mode and Susie and the Banshees recorded here. U2 made Achtung Baby within these walls, and that's my favourite U2 record by a long distance. Iggy Pop recorded Lust for Life and The Idiot at Hansa Studios. That is pretty awesome. And we were going to make what is believed to be the first solo fingerstyle guitar album recorded at Hansa Studios. What a thrill. Studio 1 at Hansa is built around a pretty imposing 56-track SSL 4000 series desk. It's a thing of rare and wonderful beauty. Just look at that. That's quite an imposing set of faders and buttons, but we had superstar engineer Kian on hand for all of that. I had one button to call my very own. It was this one with MD written on it, which stands for musical director. This allowed me to communicate directly with Alan through loudspeakers in the live room. I grew quite attached to this button, to be honest. Kind of wish I had one for everyday use. Now, the main reason I wanted to make this video is that in the live room at Hansa Studios that day, we captured some of the most beautiful acoustic guitar sounds I've ever heard, and Alan and his record label, The Orchard, have very kindly allowed me to share some of the raw recordings with you. So when we arrived at Hansa Studios, some mics had already been set up for us, a selection which included an RCA 44 from the 1950s, a Neumann U67 set to Omni placed over the shoulder, and a Neumann SM2 stereo mic close to the body joint. Both Neumanns were vintage from the 1960s. I had brought my own matched pair of Gefell M300s to the session too. I never leave home without them, and we presented these as a spaced pair, one behind the bridge, one at the body joint. And just to give us a bit of variety in the ribbon department, Kian set up his own SE Electronics Rupert Neve R1. It's the first time I'd ever used one of these. Very interesting. In addition, we took two sources from Alan's K&K pickup, the triple underbridge plate transducer, and also the internal microphone. Finally, we also sent a signal to some outboard effects, a lexicon and an eventide, just to see what we got. You never know, you might get some nice textures that you can slip into the mix if you want to get creative later on. So, would you like to hear some of these raw tracks? Well, of course you would. Let's have a listen. I'm going to use the introduction and the first few bars of Goldfish Ocean, which is one of my favourite of Alan's songs. Alan is playing his Ted Ostrand guitar. It's a lovely OM cutaway in Cocobolo and European spruce. Now, you might argue that a pickup sound is going to be the same wherever you are in the world. It doesn't matter. And I kind of agree with that. However, I'd like you to hear the K&K system through the Hansa Studios desk. Let's kick off with the transducer itself. I was really quite impressed with the way this sounded. And here is the internal mic. Right, that's enough electronics. Let's get to the big hitters. This is the over-the-shoulder Neumann U67. This is particularly interesting as Alan's guitar has a sound port in the shoulder. This is the Rupert Neve ribbon. It's a more modern sound than I'm used to hearing from Royer and Coles and that sort of thing, but it's still nice and warm. This is the Neumann SM2. It is a stereo image. It was parked right at the body joint. It's very beautiful. And here are my Gefell's inner space pair, as I said before, one behind the bridge, another at the body joint, a much wider stereo image there. And here is that beautiful 1950s RCA 44 ribbon mic. So during the sessions I asked for the Gefells and the RCA 44 as my reference mix. I wanted something familiar, but also, something a little bit sexy up the middle as well. It's important for me to have detail and warmth, especially during a longer session. This was going to be about 8 hours of concentrated listening. The monitors were a vintage pair of Tannoy Super Reds, and I have to say that the experience of hearing this stereo image for the first time was just breathtaking. Gorgeous. Now, I had mentioned some additional tracks of textures and effects. This is the Marble Room at Hansa Studios, essentially a marble-lined reverb room, which is a favourite of Coldplay, apparently. They like their drums to be recorded in this room, which is nice. This is the Lexicon 480, which could be blended into the mix, should we wish. And here is the Eventide 3000, which is also rather wonderful. It's fantastic that they've made outboard versions of these classic plugins. That's a joke. Now you will be keen to hear the final mix. you're going to have to listen to the album Lioness Lullabies for that. Working at Hansa Studios was an absolutely thrilling experience, as wonderful as it was to hear these glorious mics in action in a beautiful room. And what made it truly unforgettable is the fact that Alan Gogoll is a hugely inspiring musician, and at the end of the session we had 8 beautiful full takes, no overdubs, no punch-ins. Yeah. So finally, thank you very much to Alan Gogoll himself and the magnificent team at The Orchard for allowing me to share these sounds with you. The album Lioness Lullabies will be out on the 14th of February this year, but you can pre-save it already, and there may be some sneaky peeks across Instagram, YouTube, Spotify that you can enjoy right now. And of course, thank you to you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay tuned.